Today we're going to be looking at a progression into bounding. So that's going to include bound holds, small bounds, pops for distance, and then big bounds. The cool thing about these drills is they're not only great for long jump, triple jump, high jump, they're also great for sprinters and even other event groups as well. Bounding is a very technical drill, so it's important to break that down as best as we can. So we like to start first here with bound holds. So this is pretty much a bound, except instead of going continuously through each hop, you pause and hold in between. So this gives you a chance to focus on things like landing on your entire foot, which is very important, not landing on that toe, as well as figuring out how to best absorb the contact, and then finally focusing on pushing. Most common, what I see in terms of people struggling to deal with bounding is instead of pushing all the way through it, they focus on reaching out, and that causes them to overstride their bound, which in turn means they're not getting as much power into the ground. So the real focus with these bound holds is not only landing on the whole foot, but then pushing off the ground, push, push. Now we've moved on to a drill that looks a lot more like regular bounding. This one's called mini bounds. The focus on this drill is, now that we're moving forward with a little bit more speed, this push is going vertical. So we're not adding in that element of horizontal speed just yet, because that kind of complicates the bound. So right now we're pushing into the ground off our whole foot, but we're pushing up. So we're not covering a lot of distance. So eliminating that distance factor usually is a nice transition into then going into bounds for distance. Specific things you might want to look for to make sure that you're doing this drill correctly: making sure that plant leg gets fully extended all the way to straight, and then also the lead leg, making sure when it pushes down it doesn't extend out. So we don't want to see that lower leg extend out and then claw back into the ground, but we want to keep that lower shin vertical the entire time and push it straight into the ground. That's going to help us with extending that leg off the ground as well. Pops for distance is a variation on the drill pops, which was done in my first video of simple drills for long jump part 1. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, go ahead and do that. And the focus with this variation is now, instead of popping just for height or control, we're now trying to add that distance element in between each hop. So we're going from right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, still focusing on striking on the entire foot as well as staying upright. And what makes this bounding drill different from others is, notice the height of the knee. So we're not driving that knee all the way up to hip height, but we're keeping it much lower so that we can get a good block of momentum and really carry that going forward through each pop. And the last drill we're looking at in this progression is Gazelle Bounds, Big Bounds, Alternating Bounds, all just different names for the same drill. What we're trying to accomplish with this last drill is we're trying to combine everything we've learned so far. So when you're bounding, when you're doing these alternating bounds, alternating still right foot, left foot, you're now trying to add in that distance element while also maintaining speed, maintaining posture, getting those knees through that entire range of motion, driving them forward, 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 and doing so without losing body position. The most common error I've seen with those that struggle to perfect bounding is the lack of body position. So if you want to be successful when you're bounding, whether you're going super far through each bound or not, most important is keeping your shoulders on top of your hips. If those shoulders drop in front of your hips and then your head drops in front of you, then all of a sudden each bound becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. If you happen to come across an athlete that you see is one of those people that is bounding and it kind of seems like they're falling forward and each bound is getting shorter, then a good cue for them is either to stay tall, keep the shoulders stacked on top of their hips, or sometimes I like to use the cue of, all right, well, let's try and bound leading with our hips.